listening to Big World at Work.
Kai's Inquisition, The Blight of Shadowfall, Episode 4. Written and read by Tawn Krakowski. Kai watched the tense set of Lorst's shoulders as she followed him into the bowels of the ocean wanderer. Despite the promise of continuing their conversation, the first mate walked in silence, lost in thought. The halfling tucked under Kai's arm had ceased his struggling once she relieved him of 2 small knives, a lockpick kit, and a collection of throwing stars, thumping his already bleeding head soundly in the process. "In here," Lorst said, indicating a heavy wooden door with iron bars set into a window at eye level. He produced an iron key and checked the brig's sole occupant through the bars before opening the door. "Looks like you've got a roommate, Stone Skull," he called into the cell. "Maybe if you can keep that vile trap of yours shut in front of the paying customers, Captain Rydal might see fit to put your worthless backside back to work." Stone Skull scowled at Lorst from inside the compact space, meagerly furnished with a bug-infested straw mat and chains used to secure prisoners to the wall. Hate radiated from his tawny eyes, which were set deep into leathery skin stained a dark chocolate from the tropical sun. The furrows Brivis had raked into his face were uncovered, shining wetly beneath a few buzzing flies looking for a quick meal. "Demons take the captain," he spat. "Too many goody-goody wenches aboard this boat, not to mention whatever that shark be smuggling down in the hold." Lorst stepped into the room and backhanded the sailor. "Hold your lying tongue," he seethed. "You should be more concerned with keeping that little dagger of yours sheathed before one of those goody-goody women relieves you of it. The captain is an honorable man, and you aren't fit to lick his boots. He should have let Brivis feed your sorry carcass to the fish." Stone Skull spat fresh blood from his mouth and laughed. "To be sure, there'll be a reckoning afore long, and Rydal'll be on the losing end of it, not old Stone Skull. That uppity captain thinks he's ahead of the game, but I knows." Lorst turned away from him in disgust and addressed Kai. "Throw the stowaway in. If you'd care to teach Stone Skull some manners while you do so, be my guest." Kai tilted her head back and stared speculatively down at the sailor. Wrinkling her nose, she tossed her captive into the small space and admitted, "I wouldn't mind cutting out his foul tongue, but it is not my place. Loathsome as he has not offended my goddess, and I am hers alone to command." "I understand," Lorst said while shackling the thief to the wall. "He probably isn't worth your time." After watching the first mate slam and lock the door, Kai placed a hand on his shoulder and ushered him out of earshot of the prisoners. "With your permission, I wish to question the halfling. I have some experience extracting confessions from men like this, and I could verify that he isn't anything more than a stowaway, if you'd like." Lorst considered this. Reluctantly, he said, "It's up to Rydal, and I don't think the captain would approve." "Does he need to know?" Kai persisted. "The chances that this thief is anything other than what he seems is remote. In truth, he may prove useful to me once we reach Adelam. I only seek to discover whether he'd be worthy to serve Naderu." "Well," Lorst wavered. When he glanced hotly over his shoulder at the heavy barred door, Kai knew she had won. "All right, but not a word to the captain. If he finds out, I'll deny everything, and you'll end up sharing their accommodations." Kai responded with a tight smirk. "Trust me, I know how to be discreet." "See that you are." He pressed the key into her hand and wrapped her fingers around it. "Return this to me by first light, or my inventory report to the captain will list it as missing." The first mate pivoted on his heel and retreated the way they had come without a backward glance. As she watched him go, Kai reflected on Stone Skull's words. Whatever that shark be smuggling down in the hold. Maybe questioning the halfling could wait. "I wonder if the captain has room at his table for dinner tonight," she mumbled to herself as she went in search of the galley, the key to the brig tucked safely into a concealed pocket sewn into her billowy trousers. As luck would have it, Kai arrived in the galley just as Pia and Jack were finishing their flavorless meal, a fish base seasoned with the tiny bones and scales the cook didn't bother to strain. Kai noticed that Chajek was seated with Brivis and Captain Rydal, so she carried her sad fare to their table and asked to join them. Brivis looked away, Chajek glowered openly at Kai, and the captain said, "Be my guest. We were just discussing the prisoners." "Oh?" Kai said casually as she settled onto the hard wooden bench across from him. "You've decided what you will do with them?" "Yes. Stone Skull will be put back to work." He looked directly at the scowling auburn-haired Brivis seated next to Kai and asserted, "He is of no use to me in chains, and I am already underway without a full crew. However, since he cannot manage to regain control of his tongue, he will be under constant supervision and assigned duties far from the passengers. Any further infractions will result in a whipping." "Not good enough," Brivis growled under her breath. "It will have to be," Captain Rydal said calmly. "And the stowaway?" Kai asked, glancing across the table at Chajek. In the short time since she had last seen him, he had brought his appearance back up to his usual impeccable standards with a change of clothes and a fresh shave. Kai was tempted to inform him that his ugly expression did nothing to complement his finery, but resisted the impulse, choosing to reserve her judgment instead. "I'm going to hand him over to the authorities in Adelam," Captain Rydal said with a sigh. "However, Chajek here seems to think my brig is not secure enough to hold such a wily criminal, and asks that he be set adrift before he escapes and causes all manner of mischief." "It would be a kindness," Chajek shouted. "Isn't this part of the sea dotted with uninhabited islands? It will be 2 more weeks before we reach Adelam. I say we rid ourselves of that mongrel before we regret it, by any means necessary. Any other captain would—" Rydal slammed a fist on the table, toppling mugs and sending spoods clattering to the floor. "I am not any other captain. The stowaway's fate is not subject to a vote. We will not behave like pirate scum aboard my ship." He stood, adjusted his jacket, and left the now uncomfortably silent room. Chajek and Brivis watched him go with matching expressions of disbelief. Kai, on the other hand, was impressed by Rydal's outburst, unused to seeing such passion from the strict captain. She wondered if Stone Skull's assertions of smuggling were true, and whether the presence of this mysterious cargo, in combination with being undercrewed, fights, and stowaways, could be affecting the captain's behavior. It would certainly explain his reaction. Kai was about to ask her dinner companions what they knew of the prisoners when the ship lurched violently to the left, heeling over and sending whatever tableware that had survived the captain's temper, along with an off-guard sailor or two, skidding to the floor. Kai and Brivis reacted with a dexterity inherent to those of elven descent, lightly gaining their feet as if the floor were not canted at an unusual angle. Chajek was not so fortunate. He slid down the wooden bench, landing unceremoniously amidst the shattered ruin of bowls, mugs, and fish stew. "What's happening?" Brivis shrieked, struggling to remain upright. "Help Chajek," Kai commanded, her tone inviting no argument. "I'm going topside to find out." The ocean wanderer shuddered to the right, slowly pivoting the floor to a less skewed attitude, just as the high-pitched squeal of wood scraping against rock chased all thought from Kai's mind. She hunched forward, screwing her eyes closed tightly and covering her ears in a futile attempt to block out the painful noise. An instant later, a blow to the head sent Kai sprawling, unconscious.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
You're listening to Big World Network.